Hey guys, Ash here, Racial Legends. Welcome to the video. I am not alone today. I am joined by Colred. Colred, what's up, man? I'm thrilled to have you back on the channel, dude. How you been?
I've been great, Ash. Thanks for inviting me back onto the channel. It's always a fun time when you and I hang out. I hope the viewers enjoy it, and I'm excited to talk about free champions today.
Free champions. I did one of these like last year with Boozer, and you're the other big free-to-play dude that I watch on the YouTube. So if you guys are not familiar, by the way, with Colred's channel, check him out. So much good stuff. Colred, you are free to play, but I was just telling you off air that a lot of your content, I as a little spender, I still learn a ton from. So all my viewers should definitely check out your YouTube channel. But you're here to talk about not just the best freebies, but the best freebies that everybody can get value in. Even spenders in the game should get on their account. So I'm excited to see who you have in mind, my friend. Anything before we get started? Any thoughts? Any preambles?
No, well, first of all, like you said, I do think that, you know, free champions, since everybody gets them, you should think about them even if you are a spender. And in recent months, with the release of Centranos and more people getting into that content, I think champions that are free that everybody has access to have gotten kind of a second life, right? Because depending on the rotation, you may not be able to use your powerhouse champions, and you're looking for solutions. And so these free champions are available to everybody, so they're good champions to talk about.
So who's free and who's not free? First of all, people give me grief. Sometimes I'll say free, and they're like, "That's not free. That's farmable." And then sometimes I'll say free about like a loyalty. They're like, "That's not free. It's a loyalty." So why don't you define for the sake of this video, what classifies? Is Alice a free champion or no? She's not a free champion.
So that's a really good question. And I guess I would say that right now, Alice is a free champion.
Is a free.
By my definition. But I wouldn't put her on this list because she's eventually not going to be free, right? She's going to stop being free.
Yeah, like Sun Wukong's not on the list, even though you could get him on a promo code.
Exactly. No ninjas, no past fusion champions. So the champions that I put on this list are 10 champions that anybody can acquire simply through gameplay. Some of them will take a long time to acquire. Some of them will come your way no matter what. Some of them you have to intend to acquire, right? You can ignore certain champions in this game. That doesn't make them not free. So for me, farmable and free are basically the same thing. It's just a matter of intention.
Okay, sounds good. Let's get to the list, man. Where do you want to start? Do you have an order or just whatever you need?
Yeah, I do have an order, and the order is a little bit based on an account's progression. So we're going to start sort of in the early days of an account and move towards the later days of an account.
That's a beautiful way to do it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And just
so the early days.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that in mind, I always love to give an honorable mention because you do in all of your videos.
You trendsetter.
So I do believe that a free champion that everybody should 6-star should max out is their starter champion. There's always value in that starter champion. And again, could be in Centranos, could be in Doom Tower, could be just for the first 90 days, but you'll find you use them in secret rooms, in Doom Tower. There's all sorts of places to use a well-built starter champion. So just a little bit of an honorable mention there. I think most people do that, but we have the free-to-play challenge going on right now for this year, and some people maybe have skipped that starter champion and gone straight to Alice as their first 6-star. And, you know, it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. That, yeah, there's value there. All of those champions are very good.
Give me a lightning round. Colred's free-to-play top 4 in order starting champions. Go.
Starter champion. Best one is Athel, then it's Kale, then it's Elhain, and then it is Gallic.
Yeah.
So,
dude, I like that. I like that you went.
I love the triple hit.
I like it.
I love the triple hit and the weekend on the A1.
Big weekend, dude. It's nasty. She's nasty. And the extra turn ability. Poison's so hard to get and is so valuable that I have a hard time still not advocating for Kale. But like mid game, I think the Athel's better than Kale. You know, like that's a nasty kit. All right.
They're both great. You can't go wrong with either one.
Okay, so who are you gonna go after next?
All right, well, this is a really easy one. I've mentioned her before on your channel, but at 30 days, you get high Khatun.
I was going right for her.
As I'm going to, I'll be playing 4 years in Raid relatively soon. And I think every year my estimation of Khatun has gone up. She's actually gotten better over time, despite the fact that she's an OG. Everybody gets her at 30 days. I think just the extra value that's been added in with content, where it's like Doom Tower content. Oh, she's usable there. What about Hydra? Yeah, you can use her in a budget Hydra build. What about Clan Boss? Oh yeah, she enables 2-to-1 speed tunes. What about Cintranos? Yeah, you can throw her in there. It's like there's almost no place in the game where you can't try her out and get some value out of her. And I didn't used to care about like the turn meter decrease on her A3, but now I'm like, you know what? That 75% chance of a decreased turn meter is great in wave content. And it's like even that or the slow on her A1, it's such an awesome kit. It's such a beautiful kit and everybody gets her. And so I couldn't leave her off the list.
Did you know that, I hope I'm right on saying this because you are the guru, you tell me if I'm wrong, but do you know that Sniper works with her A3?
I did not know that.
So this is what somebody smarter than me told me a long time ago, and I've stuck with it. So hopefully I'm freaking right here. But anywhere, like when in doubt, if you see that the chances the buff and debuff chance in the skill ups, if you see that, it means that it will also impact. It's being treated like a buff or a debuff, right? So she has on the Shamanic Lightning, it can go up to 75% rather. So you can get it to 80 with the Sniper, which is nice too, because you definitely want it for the A1 to get the decreased speed to the 45. But either way, Khatun, I love that. It's a great starter there. So Khatun.
You knew I was going there, didn't you?
I did. Well, I figured I'd be good in Barbarians either way, War Maiden or Khatun. Wasn't sure where you were going to go.
All right. Well, we can stay here because the second one I'm going to pick is another one you're going to love, and that is Scyl of the Drakes.
Okay.
So this is, not even a farmable champion. This is another free log-in champion. And again, kind of like Khatun, over time, my love for her has just grown. She gets better with time. I think one of the things that people don't appreciate about her is that her passive really can't be stopped. Right, there are very few places in the game where that heal can be shut off. So she could be stunned, she could be frozen, she could be feared, and she's still going to fire off that heal, and that's just incredibly valuable. Plus, she's great in wave content with the chance of stun. Each hit has a 35% chance of placing the stun, so it actually is a double hitter. And then the sneaky decreased speed on her A1.
Yeah,
I think people undervalue her. I think one of the reasons why is she's free, and the other reason why is they look at her speed and they don't love that 95 speed. But trust me, you don't need a ton of speed on Scyl of the Drakes. You see people build her in relentless sets. There are all sorts of ways to boost that healing or her value, but she's just too good to ignore.
She really is. I'm a huge fan, right? But I think she's one of the best things. When they added her to the game, it's like everybody needs a champion like this when we get her, in the game. So obviously I'm 100% in agreement there. Who's next?
All right. So this is I guess you would call it a farmable champion or a purchasable champion in the game. The third one is Yakarl. So we are still in the Barbarian faction. And we've got Yakarl, who, by the way,
you're going in order here still, right? Like progression-wise, like that's who you would focus on next. Okay, got you.
So there's some difference in value. I think Yakarl is probably a better overall champion than Scyl of the Drakes in terms of especially late game.
Yeah.
But it also, depending on how progressed your clan is, you may be able to get him before Scyl or after Scyl, but probably around
because he is the clan shop champion here. Yep.
He's the clan shop champion.
His cool little
but your
background.
Clan needs to be level 9, I believe. So if your clan is not opened that slot, you can't start farming him yet.
Yep.
But this is a champion who I think has a lot of carry potential in the early and mid games, and then is still very valuable in the late game and even end game, because you always need an AoE, 100% AoE crowd control. That's just valuable everywhere, whether that's any wave content. It could be dungeons, it could be Doom Tower, it could be Cintranos, it could be Arena, you can use them. But in addition to that, he's got that A2, which is just incredibly powerful. It steals 100% of the target's turn meter, and then places an increased speed buff on this champion and a decreased speed buff on your target, and it can even freeze that target. So this is like perfect for Dark Fae, right? If you open with Yakarl, you lock down the enemy team, and then later in the fight, you've got that 100% turn meter steal and decreased speed for the boss. Just makes that fight a breeze. You can also use them in Fire Knight hard mode. And that's, that's hard to find champions, especially free champions that are good in Fire Knight hard mode. And at the very least, even if he doesn't take you all the way to stage 10, he's going to easily take you to stage 6, which is a great place to farm there as well. And, just my personal opinion, I think he's one of the coolest looking champs in the entire game.
He really is, man. He was like, I was saying, like, he was the first one that had like the unique background. I wish they did that a little bit more often, man. I really love it. And him himself looks amazing as well. And I love him because he's like one of their success stories with buffs, man. Like, he was pretty underwhelming before they went in and really reworked that A3 especially. But to your point, I love the turn meter steal. I love the guaranteed freeze. He can deal a little bit of damage too, especially if they're under freeze with a 50% ignore defense. So Yakarl is definitely a really, really good call out there. All right, so are we on 4 now?
We are on number 4.
I can't count.
This one is this one is a little bit of a more a champion you have to be dedicated to raid to really get, because it's a login reward champion, but it's a late login reward champion. Okay. So this kind of jumps out of order, but this is Arix in the Knights Revenant faction. Yep. I got Arix and I didn't do anything with Arix for a while. And then I finally built Arix, and I'm starting to realize how good this champion is pretty much everywhere. It's really nice to have an AoE A1 and an AoE A2. So basically all the attacks are AoEs. That gives you potential with provoke sets or stun sets, or, if you want to go that route. And then in addition, you have the ally protect and the counter attack on the A3. You can use it or you can shut it off. But the big thing is this passive. Fills the champion's turn meter by 5% each time an ally inflicts a critical hit. So if you are in, say, Spider, right, you are just getting criticals on all those Spiderlings, and you're getting tons and tons of turn meter. Even in wave content where you only have 5 enemies, like Cintranos, you're getting basically 50% turn meter. I'm sorry, 25% turn meter just by hitting everybody with a critical hit. And then if you can throw Arix in I think it's a Slayer set, right? You can get additional turn meter fill from the Slayer set, and the synergy is just crazy. You're going to get so many turns out of this champion. You just crush waves, and just a really great free champion.
I love the call out to the Slayer set. To your point, I feel like whenever I mention she's a free champion, I get like, where? I don't have her. Because it takes you about a year and a half, but still, she is worth it when you get her. She looks really cool too. I agree with you. Like, I love the chance you can remove a random buff on the even on the A1. It's like a sneaky little extra add-on there. Obviously, the CCs with the stun. She's great in a stun set. To your point on that passive too, you can even run her. She's a great ally attack, like blender option, right? Like, because she'll get the turn meter fill after that too, which allows you to build her slow. You can use the ally attacker to boost that turn meter up, so she can get back to the stun, but still build her with HP percentage or whatever on her boost, so she can smack. There's a lot of versatility in a champion like Arix, so I'm glad she was on your list.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say about this champion, you were saying, like, it takes a long time to get Arix, and I think one of the reasons why I didn't build her right away is because at that point in my account, I figured I was just set. Like, I didn't need this champion. It felt like, she would have been better off if you gave her to me 6 months earlier. And then I built her like 6 months after I got her, and she was a powerhouse right away.
She was awesome.
So I guess, the idea here is don't sleep on this champion. She's actually extremely good, even if she does take a year and a half to get.
All right. Sounds good. Halfway point. Who we got next? Now we're going to rewind in time again, hopefully.
Yeah, we're going to go back a little bit to another log-in champion. And this one is one I think people also sleep on quite a bit. Ooh. And that is Visix.
Okay. All right.
Now, Visix is an incredible champion. Honestly, of all of the champions I've mentioned so far, I think she is the one that people build the least and they should build the most. She's so good. Her kit is amazing in so many places. But if you just look at that A2, it's a 100% AoE decrease speed, right? We need decreased speed everywhere in wave content. We need it in Hydra. She's void affinity, so she's never going to weak hit. Right, so you just have to worry about the 3%. But other than the 3%, she's going to land this ability. And then she's got a 100% AoE provoke as well. So she is another just great wave control champion, but she works beautifully in Hydra. She's a great pairing with Mithrala. If you have both of those champions, you can put them in Hydra together, and they basically give you everything you need there. And then on top of that, she still has that crazy strong A1, 100% chance of decreasing the enemy's turn meter by 15% twice. It's like, yes, please.
It's nasty.
Yes, please.
She's
so
another
good.
one of those void legendaries like Yakarl that she was really bad when she was introduced, like really bad. And they gave her like the absolute perfect buff. Everything that you said, I agree with. It's funny because you think of it, an AoE provoke and AoE decrease speed, both at 100%, both on a 3-turn cooldown. I mean, she's really like a lot of players that, you know, in the comments that I get, not recently, but like Archer Queen, mad they messed out on Archer Queen, right? But she's like a void affinity version. She brings a lot of the same and more. I mean, and different. She doesn't have hex and stuff, but still, like this is a free champion that is just really next level good. So much control. I agree with you 100% on decreased speed is my favorite debuff in the game, man. Like that is a debuff I am not leaving home without. So yeah, great call on Visix.
It's funny. I have Archer Queen. I happen to have her on my main account, and she is my most valuable Hydra champion. And then I would say, you know, Visix is probably second. Those two champions are on my Nightmare and my brutal teams because you need both. Yeah.
What builds do you use on your Hydra run on Visix? I've seen people build her in like curse sets as well for extra to get that hex out of her. How do you build her?
You can. I just build her really fast, and I think she's in triple perception. I just want her really fast because if there's one downside to her kit, it's that provoke is up for one turn on a 3-turn cooldown.
Yep.
So I'm just trying to get back to that really fast. Some people will use her in Relentless. You certainly could. But I decided to go with triple perception, and I think she's on a team with Yostrid. So she's getting that turn meter fill and the increased speed buff. And between the two, she's got the 100% lock on that provoke.
You know what build? I should probably make a video on this. You know what build would be so sick on her, man? Is the 4-piece reflex with the supersonic. With supersonic. And get the double chance, or I'm sorry, merciless rather.
That's what you're thinking. You're thinking merciless, the 4-piece merciless. Yeah.
Get the double chance of the cooldowns, you know?
Yeah, you're right. That would be another way to go. I love that build. I think that's like a really cool way to get value out of that merciless set at 4 pieces.
Yeah.
And for certain champions, it's incredibly powerful. And you're right. I think it would work great on Visix. Yeah.
All right, cool. Next on the list, who we got here?
Oh, all right. So the next on the list, this may seem a little bit obvious, but surprisingly, I feel like this is a champion that maybe because she's since the beginning of the game, she's an OG, she's not valued as much as she should be these days, which is Arbiter.
Okay.
Arbiter should be the very first focus every new account goes for. Like you should just follow those Arbiter missions until you get this champion. And if you're dedicated to it and you do a little bit of research, you can get her in like, say on average, maybe 120 days, 150 days. It took me a little bit longer the first time around. So if it takes you 200 days, it's still worth pursuing her.
Oh yeah.
You use her. I use her at end game, live arena. I use her in Centranos all the time. And it's crazy. She should probably, for most free-to-play players, be the fastest or second fastest champion on your account. And her kit just synergizes so well with that speed that she empowers your PvP. She empowers your PvE. She's void affinity. She's got everything. She's got everything. I love that A1 weaken. I love the little heal that you get on the A3 when you're under 50%. I love the chance of, reducing the duration of debuffs on the enemy on the A2. It's just a beautiful kit, and she's still an amazingly powerful champion, even 6 years after the game launched.
Completely agree. I mean, even utilizing the revive without the revive and getting the double turn meter boost from a champion, if you just want a really super fast Hydra team or whatever, it can be hard to get your reviver, your healer, your increased attack champion, right? Like even in PvE, and she has it all, right? With the extra turn as well to go right back into the turn meter boost potentially and the heals off the revive. So I totally agree. Obviously, she's known for the arena, but she's great. And she's aged very well, like fine wine over time, right?
She has, yeah.
All right. Yeah. We're getting kind of down to the last, 3 or 4?
Yeah, we've got 4 left,
okay.
And now we're getting into the really high power champions. So most of these champions are going to be at least in the late mid game or mid game.
There's so many left to list. I'm curious who you might snub.
So at this point, I'm actually going to go with the permanent fusion of Lady Mikage.
Okay, all right.
And the reason that she's not higher on the list is because she's very difficult to obtain.
Yes.
Right. She's probably the hardest of these champions to obtain. There's going to be RNG involved. Some people don't like RNG as like free champions, like they call Razin, like he's not free either. I think she is, and I think she should be a focus. And one of the nice things is that Plarium over the last year or so has put out consistently guaranteed champion events for the fusion epics that go into her. So I do think that given focus and time and some saving of resources, even if you're not a spender, you should eventually be able to get Lady Mikage, and her kit is so good.
She's insane. She's one of the best champions in the game. Yeah.
Both forms of this champion are amazing. You don't even have to get her out of her main form in a lot of fights. No. You use that ally attack. She's got the A2, which decreases the duration of all the enemy buffs and ally debuffs by 1 turn, which is really nice. You can even use that to like remove 1 turn stone skin sometimes. She's got that ally attack with her A1 for a Shadowkin. So in places like Clan Boss, if you pair her up with Ninja, or if you pair her up in Hydra with Harima, or you could get so much extra damage out of just this main form. And then you go into the second form, you've got the 100% AoE buff strip with the weaken and the increased accuracy for all of your allies. That's incredibly valuable in Hydra. You got the AoE stun for any of the dungeons that you want, plus the decrease of the turn meter. I use her in Fire Knight hard mode. I use her in Hydra. I use her in also any place I can put her in Cintranos, she's in. So she just ends up showing up in like all content all the time.
Yeah.
The only reason she's not higher on the list is because she's hard to get.
I think that you could make a strong case that Lady Mikage is a top 3 champion in the entire game, in the entire game, because I say that because I have most mythicals, or I have most legendaries, and Lady Mikage is, I want to say she's probably the most used champion on my account, because I mean, she's on my main, not just like she's on my main Hydra team, like my best Hydra team. She's on my only Chimera team. And I feel like I just use her she's on my Fire Knight hard 10 team. She's on like every team. I know that I'm going to be well served because she does so much, like you said. And the thing about it too is, like, on top of everything that you mentioned, her A3 and her A2 on her base form, the Silken Snare and the Imperial Decree, they're the best versions of these really strong abilities out of any champion in the game, right? Like having the increased attack on the ally attack, having all 4 of the manipulations on 1 3-turn cooldown. It's really insane. She does so much, and that's only your base. So I totally agree. And a base 115 speed, she's next level. Okay. So Mikage, who you got next here? I think I can take some guesses. Yeah.
We're getting into the ones that I think people are going to be guessing about. But we've got 3 left. And so number 3 is Lydia. Now, Lydia is another champion that I think takes a long time to farm, a lot of dedication, but people have begun to understand how valuable faction wars are just in general, in terms of bringing in resources into your account, getting you glyphs, and more importantly, getting you forge materials for perception gear, which is just an incredibly powerful set. And as a result, I think over the last year, I've heard about people getting their Lydias faster and faster faster.
How long do you think is what's the Lydia speed run, if you had to guess?
I think a Lydia speed run, like maybe max, is probably just under 200 days, I would guess, maybe like 180 or 170 days.
Okay, wow.
So you could potentially get her faster than Scyl of the Drakes, which is kind of crazy.
That's insane,
But I think a more average, like a more realistic goal would be somewhere between, say, like 12 and 16 months. I think with dedication and intention, you could get her just past the year mark.
You guys have Lydia? Let us know in the comments. Yeah, let us know. Let us know how long it took you to get her. All right, so
she took me 2 years to get. So the way we've played the game has changed over the past 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that, it used to be, Lydia's so hard to get. Some people were discouraged because there's so much to do. But then we've gotten more creative and we've gotten more opportunities to tackle faction crypts in new and interesting ways, whether that's new gear sets or new free champions, new fusions, what have you. So now I think Lydia is much more accessible than she used to be, at least in terms of time. But regardless of when you get her, you should build her. Even if it takes you 2 years to get her, you need to build this.
She's so freaking, I mean, really, I don't know what you think, but like, to me, it's just, I mean, all of her abilities are great and special in their own unique way, for a passive all the way to her A1. But man, that Siren's Wail is just next level, you know, like to have all four of those essential buffs and debuffs on one ability. It's like, you can't replace it, you know?
And she's perfect to pair with Seer. So if you're trying to speed run your dungeons, if you've gotten to the end game and now you're trying to like reduce the amount of time you spend in game every day, this is one of the best champions that you could possibly have on your account. You pair her with the Seer, you get a reset champion like a Kymar, and all of a sudden you're going to go from 2.5-minute farms of dragon to 30-second farms of dragon, or whatever dungeon that you're in. So she is really one of those champions that can just make life in raid easier for you so that you don't have to spend so much time in game.
Yep, 100% agree. All right, two left.
All right, so this is a champion who probably would have been my number one a little while ago, but now she has dropped down to number 2, and this is Mithrala. Now, Mithrala, I believe, is probably... Is she the best? She might be the best free champion in the game. I think she probably is still the best free champion in the game. But the issue is just that there's a new champion that we're going to talk about next who's like dominating my world right now. And it's just kind of crazy. So I think Mithrala for the last 2 years has been one of the top 2 most important, influential champions on my account. Yep. There's nothing wrong with her kit. Her kit is perfect. Yeah. You've got that AoE Hex that synergizes with the passive for petrifications if you need it. By the way, this is just a little tip. If you ever get stuck on like some wave content where there are counterattackers, Valkyries or Martyrs show up, just bring in your Mithrala, put out the Hex, let the counterattacks literally petrify themselves. Yep. It's beautiful.
And they're gone.
Plus you get the increased defense and the increased attack on the same skill. So you can buff not only the survivability of your team, but any of your damage dealers, except for obviously HP-based damage dealers. And then you've got the cleanse with the strength and the shield, adding so much survivability. And even her A1 is excellent with a 100% chance of placing 2 poisons. She brings a lot of damage into boss fights with that ability. I have mine in a Brimstone as well. I've got 5-star Soul on her. So she's bringing that extra damage that not guaranteed, but unremovable Brimstone. This is just a fantastic champion. And then to top it all off, she's the easiest champion in the game to build as a resistance cleanser.
Yes.
Right? Because any accuracy scales her resistance. Yep. So whether it's PvE or PvP, you can be pretty sure that your Mithrala is going to be available to use her cleanse.
You said it beautifully, Ben. She brings so much still to this day. She's a lot easier to get than Lydia, right? Wouldn't you say? I would say so. But one of the things about both Lydia and Mithrala is that the content can discourage people, right? You can get discouraged by Hydra. You can get discouraged by like the grind of faction crypts. If you don't focus on these champions, it can be a very long time before you find that they're within reach. Yeah. But with intention, you could get Mithrala anywhere between, say, like 12 and 20 weeks of consistent Hydra play. So you're thinking, this is between, say, 3 and 5 months of a grind once you get to the point where you can do at least, let's say, 2 Hydra levels, like, normal and hard. Yeah. And that's not too bad. It seems like a long time. But honestly, when you've been playing this game as long as we have, it doesn't. And they add up. Those fragments, they add up. Yeah.
They do quickly. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
All right. So number 1, I think I can guess who. Okay. But do you want to do some honorable mentions before we get to the number 1? Because I have some questions maybe about a few that didn't make the list.
Do it. Yeah. Shout them out. We'll talk about it.
Shout outs. Drexstar Blood Twin. Right. Good old Drexstar. Yes. He's still solid. He's still got the burn. He's got the passive. He's a boss killer, right? Boss killer. There's
absolute great champion that you don't need to put books on too. So a very good free champion.
I probably wouldn't put her in my top 10 either, but maybe an honorable to Yannicka, right? Yannicka, good little nukage there. Who else on the freebies do I think belonged on the list? Probably Probably nobody on the freebies, on the daily logins, I should say. But your Doom
Personally,
Tower.
I like Razin as well.
Yeah, there was no Razin. Yeah. I still want to buff to good old Razin personally, but
yes, definitely that speed. Yeah, and the cooldown.
That's speed at 91 and that 7-turn cooldown. I mean, come on.
They say beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
This is still powerful champion though. Nonetheless, we have. I think Ramantu is good. I think that Carnage. I'm a big Carnage fan. Are you a Carnage fan?
You know, I was thinking about those champions when I was putting together this list, and I have a few what I would consider like end game farmable champions.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to just populate it with
it.
Oh, here are the 10 most powerful free
the
champions.
10 best free champions are Carnage, Embreeze, Lamansu, and
right. Yeah. So yes, you should try to farm those champions, but realistically, that's a really, really long grind, and I'm trying to be a little bit more focused with this list. But yeah, all of those champions are great, and if you are close to them, go with intention, find the way to complete your farm, get those champions and crush the game with them, because it's basically, those are all win conditions, right? Like when you start to collect those champions, you're talking about winning raid. There's no other win condition in raid other than saying, hey, I've gotten my Ramantu or whatever, go get it.
Yeah. Okay. And then, do you have any quick thoughts on Embreeze? Did you even look at his kit yet, or you're not even bothering until you get him? Till anybody
I'll be
gets
honest,
him?
Yeah, I haven't done that dive yet.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I actually think I'm excited for him. I'm not sure how it'll be, but I'm excited for him. Okay, there was in the Doom Tower guys. Did you not include the Doom Tower ones, or are you just like honorables? The Dark Kale and the Ryan the Conjurer specifically, and Archmage.
So
maybe,
I like Ryan the Conjurer. I like Archmage Helmet. I like Dark Kale. There are actually a few others as well that are definitely usable.
Yeah.
But when you start to think about when you get those epics, you realize they often come a little bit late, right? So you're not quite getting them fast enough. High Khatun you get at 30 days. That's one of the reasons why she's so valuable.
Very true.
By the time you get Dark Kale, you may not have a need for him.
Okay, that is unfair.
Okay.
Which is a little bit tricky. So I actually went through the list of all of the Doom Tower champions, and out of all of the ones, the only one I really considered putting on a list was Varl, because I actually think he's incredibly good.
I was just gonna pull him up right now. Yeah.
I think he's a great honorable mention. He's incredibly strong in Hydra, and you could get him at a point in time. I think he's about halfway through, or maybe
he's around that.
Something.
Yeah.
But you could get him at a point where maybe you're still trying to unlock Nightmare Hydra, and he could help you do that.
Yeah.
So but it just turns out that most of those Doom Tower champions take a little bit too long to collect for most players to feel like they're going to add a huge amount of value when you collect them.
That's a good perspective, honestly. I hadn't really thought of that. I think that maybe Archmage might make the list because he's the first guy that you get, to your point. Yeah. All right. So who's numero uno, man? Who's number one?
This guy is going to be, I don't think, any surprise to anybody, but he's been kicking my butt in live arena for like the last 2 months, and that is Marius. So this is, if we were talking about Ramantu, like putting Ramantu on the list, this is a guy who's kind of the equivalent of that, right? Like getting Marius is one of those missions that you have to just like stay locked in, and there's so many end game things that you have to do. You have to get to gold. The gold live arena may be for Ramantu, but there are a bunch of things that you have to do. I think collecting mythical, gear and stuff like that.
Yeah, you need like 20 mythicals. You need the, I know all too well because I'm not sure if I ever told you the story, but I made the mistake of I pulled Arbiter super early in this game. She's one of my first, Void legendaries. And then I was like, I guess I don't need to do Arbiter missions. This is great. This is great. And obviously there was a dumb thinking because there's a lot of good rewards anyway, but it was before champion empowerment and stuff. And I'm like, I guess I'm good, And and then they came out with Ramantu and Marius. I'm like, crap, I got to do my Arbiter missions. But the good news is I'm on that one of the final missions where you have to get like the Iron Twins 40 souls or whatever the heck, So I'm like 5 away right now. So anyway, but so
you're a little bit closer. I'm about
Marius.
25 away, I think. But
okay.
So obviously the Enfeeble debuff is huge, right? That A1 AoE with the Enfeeble debuff. I think he was the first champion that we could all get that had Enfeeble.
Yeah, unless you include Androck. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we've got the A2, which is insane, right? So this is a triple hit AoE, which with damage based on enemy max HP. So this is like Newt's A3, right? And then each hit decreases duration of all enemy buffs by 1 as well. So on top of having that incredible damage for PvE, you know, you also have this decreased duration of enemy buffs, and that's each hit. So 3 times you can decrease the duration of enemy buffs. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that doesn't activate polymorph.
Correct. Yeah, it's polymorph proof, which is he's like the best arena champion in the game right now because he has the stone skin and everything else just absolutely just it's gone, right? It's all evaporated with that A2, and his enemy max HP doesn't. It's not that I don't think the multipliers are quite as much as a newt, but it doesn't matter because he's able to get back to it so fast with the extra turn.
Right.
On his A3, you know, he can get back to that A2. It's insane. With the AoE as well, like obviously in an AoE situation, it's way harder than newts, right? But like, it doesn't, I'm so sick of this guy, man. I'm so sick of this guy.
I am too.
I love him.
That actually,
I hate him.
The thing that crushes my spirit with this guy is actually his passive. So
yes.
when you go there, he's immune to turn meter reduction effects. Okay, well, that's one thing. But it's the second part. Whenever an enemy changes form or attempts to decrease this champion's turn meter, he counterattacks using his A1, which is the AoE with the Enfeeble, right? So I have Xu Zhen in live arena. She's like probably my second best champion. Or before that, I was using Yostrid, who's got the turn meter decrease. Before that, I was using Deacon, who's got the turn meter decrease. Before that, I was using Lady Kimmy, who's got the turn meter decrease. All of those
all your strats are out the window, bro.
Yeah, they all get countered by Marius. You have to be really, really careful when you go into a fight. And either he's going to be ban bait and you have to ban him out. That means, you know, Armand's gets through and Siffy gets through and all those other champions. Or you leave him in and then, you know, you have to play around this champion. He doesn't even have to be in stone skin to be crazy strong. But if he is, then you have that on top of everything else.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I am focused on getting this guy next. He is like my new goal. I'm hoping to get him in about maybe 2 months' time. And as soon as I get him, I'm going to be building. He's just too strong.
He's nuts. All the reasons that you said. I love live arena. I can't wait till seasons come in. But like, he is probably my most banned or second most banned champion, just because it's like I just don't want to deal with him. You know, I just don't want to deal with this guy with all the reasons you mentioned. Just, you know, he brings his own increased defense on a defense-based champion, but it's not just him. It's the whole damn team. He's stunning the enemy with the highest turn meter. He's counterattacking with the Enfeeble. He's great at neutralizing threats and killing everybody, right? So yeah, I completely agree.
And on top of being this crazy strong PvP champion, he's also awesome. Like if you check the leaderboards for the fastest clears for a lot of dungeons, he's on all of those leaderboards too. So he's not just PvP. He's an amazing PvE champion. So yeah, I can't wait to get this guy. And in the meantime, I'll just hate him until I have him.
Indeed. Then we can love him. He could be your favorite after that.
Right.
Brag a little bit if you've unlocked Marius or any of these champions in the comments below, guys. We're going to go ahead and do a collab on Colred's channel as well. So check us out there. Subscribe to his channel. You guys won't regret it. Tons of more content like this. And some of a lot of guide stuff as well. Really, really fun over there. Colred, any final words before we let you go, man?
No, just thanks again for inviting me, Ash. It's always a fun time. I can't wait to do part 2.
Me too, guys. Thanks for watching till the end. Thanks, and as always, take care, guys.